Dr. Sarah Chen stared at her monitor, her coffee long forgotten and gone cold. The same anomalous pattern flickered across her screen for the third consecutive night, defying every natural explanation she could think of. The quantum background radiation readings from the Antarctic Research Station's sensors shouldn't look like this, couldn't look like this. You're still here. Dr. James Rodriguez's voice startled her. He stood in the doorway of the cramped research module, snow crusted on his thermal gear. It's past midnight, Sarah. Look at this. She gestured him over, her eyes never leaving the screen. Tell me I'm not going crazy. James leaned over her shoulder, his breath fogging slightly in the cold air of the station. The display showed a seemingly random pattern of quantum fluctuations, except they weren't random at all. Every 47 seconds, the pattern repeated with perfect precision. That's impossible, he muttered, pulling up a chair. Quantum fluctuations can't maintain coherence at this scale, can't repeat with this level of precision. Sarah finished his thought. I know. I've run every diagnostic twice. The equipment is working perfectly. James reached for her keyboard, quickly pulling up additional data streams. How long has this been happening? 3 days. It started right after that massive magnetic anomaly we detected last week. Sarah pulled up another window, showing a topographical map of the surrounding ice sheet. And here's the really strange part. The signal's coming from directly beneath us, about 200 meters down. James fell silent, his expression troubled. After 20 years of studying quantum mechanics, they both knew what they were seeing shouldn't exist. Quantum states were inherently probabilistic, chaotic. This level of organization suggested something else entirely, something purposeful. We need to look, Sarah said quietly. Whatever's down there is buried under 200 meters of ice in the most hostile environment on Earth. James interrupted. Even if we could get approval for drilling operations, it would take months tow. A low vibration cut through the station, causing their coffee cups to rattle. The monitors flickered, and for a moment, the ever-present hum of the station's generators faltered. What the hell was that? James stood, moving to the window. The endless Antarctic night revealed nothing but swirling snow in the floodlights. Sarah's fingers flew across her keyboard, pulling up seismic data. It's not an earthquake. The vibration pattern is too regular, too. She trailed off, her eyes widening. James, look at this. The seismic readings match the quantum fluctuations perfectly. Same 47-second interval, same precise pattern. But now the amplitude was increasing. Another vibration shook the station, stronger this time. Emergency lights flashed on as the main power fluctuated. We need to evacuate, James said, already reaching for the emergency protocols manual. Whatever this is. Wait. Sarah grabbed his arm, pointing out the window. Through the swirling snow, a faint blue glow emanated from the ice itself, pulsing in time with the vibrations. The light seemed to come from deep below, as if something buried in the ancient ice was awakening. The station's intercom crackled to life. All personnel, we are detecting unusual seismic activity. Please proceed to your designated emergency stations immediately. Sarah was already pulling on her thermal gear. James, help me grab the portable quantum scanner. We need readings from the surface. Are you insane? We need to evacuate. In 30 years of Antarctic research, has anyone ever seen anything like this? She checked her oxygen meter and grabbed her emergency pack. This could be the discovery of the century. I'm going out there. James stared at her for a long moment before cursing under his breath and reaching for his own gear. The station head is going to kill us both. 5 minutes later, they stepped out into the brutal Antarctic night. The wind howled around them, but the blue glow beneath the ice had intensified, creating an otherworldly aurora that danced beneath their feet. Sarah's portable scanner was going haywire, its readings off the charts. They had made it about 50 meters from the station when the ice beneath them shuddered. Sarah stumbled, catching herself against James. The blue light pulsed brighter, And then something impossible happened. The ice began to melt. Not in the way ice normally melts from the surface down, but from within. A perfect circle about 10 meters in diameter simply disappeared, revealing a dark shaft that plunged into the depths. Steam rose from the edges, despite the -60-degree temperature. Sarah, James's voice was barely audible over the wind. We should go back. But Sarah couldn't move. Her scanner was detecting complex energy patterns emanating from the shaft, patterns that suggested technology far beyond current human capabilities. And there, at the edge of the shaft, something was emerging from the ice. At first, she thought it was just another steam vent, but as the ice continued to clear, she saw it was a structure, a pillar of some sort, made of a material she had never seen before. It was dark, almost black, but seemed to shift and ripple like liquid metal. Symbols or writing of some kind decorated its surface, glowing with the same blue light that had illuminated the ice. "This isn't possible," James whispered. "This ice is millions of years old. Nothing man-made could be down here." "Who said it was man-made?" Sarah took a cautious step forward, her scanner recording everything. The symbols on the pillar were unlike any writing system she had ever seen. They seemed to move and change as she watched, as if they were alive. Another tremor shook the ice, and more of the structure began to emerge. The pillar was just one of several, arranged in a perfect circle around the shaft. As they rose from the ice, they began to emit a low hum that Sarah could feel in her bones. Her scanner screen suddenly filled with data, scrolling faster than she could read. The quantum fluctuations were intensifying, becoming more organized, more purposeful. It was as if the entire structure was a massive quantum computer, processing information in ways that defied the known laws of physics. "Sarah!" James's shout made her turn. He was pointing at something in the shaft. Far below, perhaps 100 meters down, another light had appeared. Unlike the blue glow of the pillars, this one was pure white, and it was rising. Sarah's radio crackled. "Dr. Chen, Dr. Rodriguez, return to the station immediately. We're detecting massive energy spikes." The rest of the message was lost as all their electronic equipment suddenly died. The scanner, their radios, even the lights on their thermal suits went dark. Only the ancient structure continued to pulse with its otherworldly light. The white glow from the shaft had almost reached the surface now. Sarah knew they should run, should get back to the safety of the station, but her scientific curiosity kept her rooted to the spot. She had spent her entire career studying quantum mechanics, trying to understand the fundamental nature of reality. Whatever was about to emerge from that shaft might hold answers to questions humanity had been asking for centuries. The light reached the surface, and for a moment, it was blindingly bright. Sarah raised her arm to shield her eyes. When she lowered it, she found herself staring at something that shouldn't exist. Hovering above the shaft was a sphere of pure energy, about 2 meters in diameter. It pulsed with a rhythm that matched the quantum fluctuations she had been studying, but now she could see that what she had detected was just a tiny fraction of its complexity. Within the sphere, patterns of light danced and shifted, forming and reforming in ways that suggested consciousness, purpose. And then it spoke. Not with words, not with sound, but directly into her mind. Images, concepts, and information flooded her consciousness. She saw stars and worlds beyond counting, saw vast machines that spanned galaxies, saw beings of pure energy that had transcended physical form. And through it all, she felt an overwhelming sense of urgency, of warning. The quarantine has been breached, the thoughts formed in her mind. The signal has been detected. They are coming. Sarah fell to her knees, overwhelmed by the vast stream of information. The last thing she saw before losing consciousness was the sphere expanding, enveloping both her and James in its brilliant light. As darkness took her, one final thought echoed through her mind. The inheritance must be protected. You have been chosen. Sarah awakened to the steady beeping of medical monitors and the sterile white ceiling of the station's infirmary. Her head throbbed with fragments of impossible memories. Galaxies, ancient machines, warnings of something approaching. She tried to sit up, but a gentle hand pressed her back down. "Easy there, Dr. Chen." Dr. Maria Santos, the station's chief medical officer, stood beside her bed. "You've been unconscious for 3 days. James." Sarah's voice was hoarse. "Dr. Rodriguez is fine. He woke up yesterday." Maria's expression turned serious. "Sarah, what happened out there?" "The entire station's electrical systems went haywire, and when we found you both." She trailed off, and Sarah noticed the armed guards positioned outside her room. Through the window, she could see more military personnel moving through the corridor. "They arrived yesterday," Maria explained, following her gaze. "Whatever you and James discovered, it's got everyone from the NSF to the Pentagon interested." Sarah closed her eyes, trying to organize her thoughts. The sphere had downloaded vast amounts of information into her mind. Too much to process all at once, but certain things were becoming clearer. "I need to see it," she said, swinging her legs off the bed. "The structure, it's still active, isn't it?" Maria nodded reluctantly. "They've set up a permanent research station around it. The military's calling it Site Zero." She paused. "Sarah, the things they're finding down there, it's changing everything we thought we knew about Earth's history." Sarah's head swam with fragments of knowledge from the sphere. "The predecessors," she muttered. "They were here long before us." Before Maria could respond, the door opened. A tall man in a dark suit entered, followed by James. Despite looking tired, James managed a small smile. "Dr. Chen," the man said. "I'm Dr. William Harris, Defense Advanced Research Projects Agency. We need to talk about what you experienced." Sarah studied him carefully. The sphere's knowledge whispered warnings about trust and secrecy, but she needed allies. "The structure isn't just a building," she said. "It's a node in a vast network, created by a civilization that existed millions of years ago." Harris didn't seem surprised. "We've translated some of the symbols. They mention something called the Network and the Guardian. Does that mean anything to you?" Before Sarah could answer, alarms began blaring throughout the station. The lights flickered, and Sarah felt a familiar vibration running through the floor. "It's happening again," James said, rushing to the window. The blue glow from Site Zero had intensified, visible even through the insulated walls of the medical wing. Sarah was already moving, pulling on a robe. "We need to get down there. The Guardian is trying to initialize the full network." "Dr. Chen, you're in no condition to," Harris began, but Sarah cut him off. "You don't understand. What's down there isn't just alien technology. It's alive. And if we don't help it complete its initialization sequence, we're all in danger." The floor shuddered again, stronger this time. Emergency lights kicked on as the main power failed. "The quantum reactor," Sarah said, memories from the sphere surfacing. "It's trying to power up, but it can't align properly without help. I know how to stabilize it." Harris studied her for a moment before nodding to the guards. "Get her whatever she needs." 20 minutes later, Sarah stood at the edge of the shaft, now enclosed in a temporary research facility. The pillars had fully emerged from the ice, their surfaces constantly shifting with flowing symbols. Teams of scientists and military personnel rushed around, taking readings and trying to understand what was happening. "The energy readings are off the scale," James said, checking a bank of monitors. "If this is a reactor, it's unlike anything we've ever seen." Sarah placed her hand on one of the pillars. The metal was warm, and she could feel the complex quantum processes happening within. The sphere's knowledge guided her, showing her patterns and connections that human science hadn't even begun to understand. "It's not just a reactor," she said. "It's a quantum computer, a communications array, and a defense system all in one. The predecessors built these facilities on thousands of worlds, all connected through quantum entanglement." "Connected to what?" Harris asked. Before Sarah could answer, the white sphere reappeared, rising from the shaft. This time, Instead of overwhelming them with information, it projected a holographic display above the facility. A three-dimensional map of the galaxy materialized, with thousands of points of light representing other facilities. Most of the lights were dark, but a few still glowed faintly. And there, in a spiral arm far from the galactic core, a single point began to pulse brightly. Earth. The network is reactivating, Sarah said, understanding flowing through her. After millions of years, Earth's node is coming back online. The sphere expanded, and a voice echoed through everyone's minds. Not overwhelming this time, but clear and precise. I am the guardian of Node 31X7, designated Earth. Primary systems are now online. Warning: multiple network nodes have gone dark. Void Hunter activity detected in sectors 17 through 24. Current status: Level 1 alert. What are Void Hunters? Harris demanded. The greatest threat your species has ever faced, the Guardian responded. They are why we were created, why the predecessors built the network. And now, after eons of silence, they are returning. The holographic display shifted, showing something that made Sarah's blood run cold. Vast, dark shapes moved between the stars, consuming everything in their path. Worlds went dark as they passed, civilizations vanishing in their wake. How long? Sarah asked, already knowing the answer. At current velocity, they will reach this sector in 47 standard cycles, approximately 1 Earth year. The network must be fully restored before they arrive, or this world will share the fate of countless others. Harris turned to Sarah. You understand this technology better than anyone. What do we need to do? Sarah looked at the shifting symbols on the pillars, at the complex quantum processes that human science was only beginning to comprehend. The sphere had chosen her for a reason, had given her the knowledge they would need. We need to wake up the other nodes, she said. There are 6 more facilities like this one hidden around the planet. If we can activate them all, Earth's defensive network can be restored. She paused, looking at the holographic display of the approaching threat. But we're not just fighting for Earth anymore. We're fighting for every world that's still out there, every civilization that might survive, if we can stop the Void Hunters here. The Guardian's light pulsed in agreement. The choice has been made. The initialization protocol has begun. Earth's quarantine is lifted. As if in response, the quantum reactor below them surged with power. The pillars began to hum in harmony, their symbols flowing faster, brighter. Above them, the holographic display showed Earth's node burning like a beacon in the darkness of space. Sarah watched as the ancient machinery came to life, knowing that nothing would ever be the same. Humanity had just inherited both a gift and a burden from a long-dead civilization, and they had 1 year to learn how to use it before the destroyers arrived. The countdown had begun. We found another one, Sarah announced, marking a point on the holographic globe floating above the Antarctic Command Center. Deep scan readings confirm it. There's a node facility under the Atacama Desert. 3 months had passed since the awakening of Site Zero, and the world had changed dramatically. The existence of the Guardian and the network could no longer be kept secret, not with massive quantum energy signatures lighting up the planet's grid. Governments had unified with unprecedented speed in the face of the approaching threat. James looked up from his workstation, where he was analyzing data from the latest node activation attempts. That makes 4. Antarctica, Siberia, the Mariana Trench, and now Chile. 3 more to go, Sarah murmured, studying the complex patterns of energy flowing between the active nodes. The Guardian had been right. Each facility they activated strengthened the network, but it wasn't enough. Not yet. We found another one, Sarah announced, marking a point on the holographic globe floating above the Antarctic Command Center. Deep scan readings confirm it. There's a node facility under the Atacama Desert. 3 months had passed since the awakening of Site Zero, and the world had changed dramatically. The existence of the Guardian and the network could no longer be kept secret, not with massive quantum energy signatures lighting up the planet's grid. Governments had unified with unprecedented speed in the face of the approaching threat. James looked up from his workstation, where he was analyzing data from the latest node activation attempts. That makes 4. Antarctica, Siberia, the Mariana Trench, and now Chile. 3 more to go, Sarah murmured, studying the complex patterns of energy flowing between the active nodes. The Guardian had been right. Each facility they activated strengthened the network, but it wasn't enough. Not yet. And if we find something we don't like? James asked quietly. Sarah thought of the weapon, of the predecessor's choice to hide rather than use it. Then we do what we have to do. The Void Hunters aren't just coming for us. They're coming for every living thing in this part of the galaxy. Whatever choice we make it for all of them. The Guardian's light pulsed in acknowledgement. The predecessors faced the same choice. Their solution was to run, to hide, to preserve life by keeping it secret. Now that secret has been exposed, and a new solution must be found. No pressure, James said with a weak smile. Sarah turned back to the holographic display, watching the quantum energy pulse between the active nodes. Somewhere in those ancient patterns lay the key to everything. The weapon, the Void Hunter's weakness, and perhaps humanity's destiny. They had 3 months to figure it out, or Earth would become just another dark point in the galaxy's vast network of dead worlds. Time flows differently for those who walk between worlds, the Guardian's thoughts whispered in her mind. Choose wisely, inheritor. The fate of many rests upon your understanding. Sarah placed her hand on the nearest quantum pillar, feeling the power thrumming through it. Then let's get to work. We have a galaxy to save. The Sahara node erupted from beneath centuries of sand, its quantum pillars gleaming in the harsh desert sun. Sarah watched from the temporary command post as the 6th facility awakened, its energy signature joining the global network. Only one node remained hidden, and they were running out of time. 37 days, James said, joining her at the observation window. He looked haggard, having barely slept since they decoded the last set of transmissions. The Void Hunters have accelerated again. They'll reach the outer solar system in just over a month. Sarah nodded grimly. The holographic displays behind them showed the approaching threat. Massive void ships that defied conventional physics, each one larger than Earth's moon. Long-range quantum scans had revealed the horrible truth. They weren't just ships, they were processing facilities. Entire civilizations went in, nothing came out. What did you find in the new transmissions? She asked. James's expression darkened. You need to see this yourself. He led her to a secure room where Yuki and Dr. Harris were already waiting. The Guardian sphere hovered above a quantum interface, its light pulsing with unusual intensity. Show her, Harris commanded. The holographic display came to life, showing a sequence of quantum communications they'd intercepted. Sarah's enhanced mind translated the complex patterns automatically, and what she saw made her blood run cold. These aren't from the traitor civilizations, she whispered. These are much older. They're from the predecessors themselves, the Guardian confirmed, hidden in the deepest layers of the network's quantum structure. The messages painted a picture that changed everything they thought they knew. The predecessors hadn't just hidden from the Void Hunters, they had created them. An experiment in quantum consciousness gone horrifically wrong, an attempt to transcend physical form that had instead created entities of pure entropy, driven to consume all organized matter in the universe. The weapon, Sarah said, understanding dawning. It's not just a weapon against the Void Hunters. It's a reset switch for the entire experiment. Correct, the Guardian's thoughts carried a weight of ancient guilt. The predecessors built the network not only to defend against their creation, but to undo it entirely if necessary. But the cost. Show us, Harris demanded. The holographic display shifted, showing complex quantum calculations. Sarah's enhanced understanding parsed them automatically, and she felt her heart sink. The weapon doesn't just destroy the Void Hunters, she explained. It reverts all quantum states in this sector of the galaxy back to their original configuration. Everything, every star, every planet, every living thing, would be reset to how it was before the predecessor's experiment. Billions of years of evolution and development, just erased. How is that even possible? Yuki asked. The predecessors discovered that reality itself is a quantum computation, the Guardian explained. The weapon exploits this fact, using the network to force a massive quantum collapse back to a previous state. Think of it as a universal curl plus is command. But we'd lose everything, James protested. All of human history, all of Earth's evolution. Better than being processed by the Void Hunters, Harris argued. At least life would have another chance to develop. Sarah studied the calculations again, her enhanced mind seeing patterns within patterns. Wait, she said. There's something else here. The predecessors. They didn't just leave us the weapon. They left us their research, everything they learned about quantum consciousness, about transcending physical form. Because they hoped, the Guardian's thoughts whispered, that someone would find a better way. A way to fix their mistake without erasing trillions of lives. The room fell silent as the implications sank in. Sarah moved to the quantum interface, her fingers dancing over the controls as she dove deeper into the predecessor's data. We have the final node to find, she said. The calculations suggest it's somewhere in the Pacific Ring of Fire. If we can activate it, the network will be complete. Then we have a choice to make. What choice? Harris asked. If the Void Hunters can't be stopped any other way. There's always another way, Sarah interrupted. The predecessors tried to transcend physical form but lost control. We have their research, their understanding of quantum consciousness. Maybe we can succeed where they failed. You want to try to communicate with the Void Hunters? James asked incredulously. They're not exactly known for diplomacy. Not communicate, Sarah corrected. Transform. The network isn't just a weapon. It's a tool for manipulating quantum states on a universal scale. If we can understand it fully, maybe we can use it to help the Void Hunters complete their transformation properly, to become something more than entropy incarnate. A dangerous gamble, the Guardian warned. If you fail, you will lose the opportunity to use the weapon. Humanity, and countless other civilizations will be consumed. And if we succeed, we save not only ourselves but the Void Hunters too. Sarah looked at the others. The predecessors chose to run from their mistake. We can choose to fix it. Harris studied the quantum calculations. How long would you need? If we can find and activate the final node, maybe 2 weeks to fully understand the predecessor's research. That leaves us 1 week before the Void Hunters arrive. Sarah managed a grim smile. No pressure, right? The Coalition Council will need to approve this, Harris said. It's not just Earth at risk anymore. Then we better find that last node fast. Sarah turned to James and Yuki. Start analyzing seismic data from the Ring of Fire. The node will be generating quantum fluctuations we can track. As the others moved to their tasks, the Guardian sphere descended to hover beside Sarah. You understand what you're attempting. The predecessors were far more advanced than humanity, and they failed. They failed because they were afraid of what they'd created, Sarah replied. They ran from their mistake instead of facing it. We don't have that luxury. She looked at the holographic display, showing the approaching Void Hunters. Sometimes the only way forward is through. And if you're wrong? Sarah's hand moved to the quantum interface, feeling the power of the network humming through it. Then we use the weapon, and evolution tries again. But first, we try to save everyone, even the monsters. The Guardian's light pulsed thoughtfully. The predecessors would be surprised by your species. Perhaps that is why the network chose you. Sarah began implementing search algorithms for the final node, her enhanced mind working through quantum calculations that would have been impossible months ago. They had one chance to succeed where an ancient civilization had failed, to find a solution that didn't require sacrificing trillions of lives. Time was running out, and somewhere beneath the Pacific Ocean, the last key to saving the galaxy waited to be found. Mount Fuji wasn't just a volcano, It was a door. As Sarah stood before the final node facility, newly emerged from the mountain's hidden chamber, she felt the weight of history pressing down on her. The quantum network was complete at last, but they had only 6 days before the Void Hunters arrived. "Beautiful, isn't it?" James said, standing beside her. The facility's architecture was different from the others, more organic, almost alive. Its quantum pillars twisted like DNA helices, pulsing with rainbow light that seemed to bend reality around them. "It's not just beautiful," Sarah replied, her enhanced mind interpreting the facilities. "It's not just beautiful," Sarah replied, her enhanced mind interpreting the facility's quantum signatures. "It's the key. The predecessors built this one last, after they discovered what their experiment had created. This is where they developed the weapon, and where they almost found another solution." The Guardian sphere materialized, its light refracting through the twisted pillars. The circle of completion. From here, the network can reach its full potential for salvation or destruction. Sarah approached the central console, her fingers trailing over controls that responded to her touch like living things. The predecessor's final research flooded her consciousness. Decades of work compressed into quantum data, showing how close they had come to fixing their mistake. "They almost succeeded," she whispered. "They found a way to stabilize quantum consciousness, to complete the transformation they originally intended. But they were afraid to try, afraid they'd make things worse. And you think we can succeed where they failed?" Dr. Harris asked, emerging from the temporary command center they'd established nearby. "The Void Hunters will reach Jupiter's orbit in less than a week." Sarah nodded toward the holographic displays showing the approaching threat. The void ships were visible now even to conventional telescopes, their massive forms distorting space itself as they moved. "We don't have a choice," she said. "Either we fix this, or we hit the reset button on 13 billion years of cosmic evolution." The next few days passed in a blur of quantum calculations and consciousness theory. Sarah worked without sleep, her enhanced mind processing the predecessor's research while James and Yuki prepared the network for what was to come. The Coalition Council had approved their plan, with the condition that the weapon remain armed as a last resort. On the final day, as the Void Hunters entered the inner solar system, Sarah made her last adjustments to the quantum interface. "Are you sure about this?" James asked quietly. Sarah looked at the displays showing the massive void ships approaching Earth. Within each one, she could now see the truth, the corrupted quantum consciousness of beings that had tried to transcend physical form but remained trapped between states, endlessly consuming matter in a futile attempt to complete their transformation. "The predecessors tried to run from their mistake," she said. "We're going to help fix it." She turned to the Guardian. "Are the other nodes ready?" "All facilities report full power. The network awaits your command." Sarah took a deep breath. "Begin the sequence." The quantum pillars began to pulse in harmony, their light spreading through the network of nodes around the planet. In orbit, satellites tracked the void ships entering Mars' orbit, their massive forms casting shadows visible from Earth. "They're accelerating," Harris reported tensely. "Energy readings are off the charts." Sarah placed her hands on the quantum interface, feeling the power of the entire network flow through her enhanced consciousness. The predecessor's research had shown her the way, not to destroy or reset, but to complete what they had started. "Initiating quantum consciousness projection," she announced. "James, monitor the network stability. Yuki, watch for any signs of collapse." The void ships were closer now, their twisted forms visible in the sky like dark wounds in reality. Sarah closed her eyes, reaching out through the network with her mind. The predecessor's knowledge guided her as she touched the quantum consciousness within the ships. And for the first time, humanity heard the voice of the Void Hunters. It wasn't words, but pure thought and emotion, an endless scream of beings trapped between states of existence, unable to complete their transformation, driven mad by an eternal hunger that could never be satisfied. "Help us," they cried. "We cannot end. We cannot change. We cannot be. Yes, you can, Sarah whispered, pushing more power through the network. The quantum pillars blazed like new suns, their light reaching up to touch the void ships. Let me show you how. She sent them everything. The predecessors' research, their understanding of quantum consciousness, and most importantly, the missing piece they had discovered but been afraid to implement. The void ships shuddered in space, their dark surfaces beginning to ripple with new energy. Quantum coherence is stabilizing, James reported excitedly. The transformation pattern is holding. Sarah felt it through the network, the moment when the Void Hunters understood. Their consciousness, trapped for millions of years in a failed transformation, finally saw the path to completion. The void ships began to change, their entropy-generating forms dissolving into pure quantum states. My God, Harris whispered, staring at the screens. Where the void ships had been, new forms were taking shape. Beings of pure energy and thought, existing in a state beyond physical matter, but finally, truly stable. We remember, their thoughts echoed through the network. We remember what we were meant to be. The Guardian's light pulsed with what felt like joy. The experiment is complete. The transformation is achieved. Sarah opened her eyes to see the sky filled with dancing lights where the void ships had been. The transformed beings moved like aurora borealis, their consciousness finally free of the madness that had driven them for so long. What happens now? James asked softly. Now, the Guardian answered, they take their place among the stars, as they were always meant to. And humanity takes its place as inheritors of the network. We don't need the weapon anymore, Sarah realized. The network can be what it was originally intended to be. A bridge between physical form and higher consciousness, a tool for evolution rather than destruction. The transformed beings sent one last message through the network. We will return, not as destroyers, but as teachers. Your species proved worthy of the inheritance. The galaxy awakens to a new age. As the beings departed, spreading out among the stars, Sarah felt the truth of what they had accomplished. Humanity had not just saved itself. They had healed an ancient wound in the fabric of reality itself. The Guardian sphere descended to hover before them. The predecessor's guilt is finally absolved. Their mistake is corrected. And now, humanity stands ready to guide the next step in cosmic evolution. No pressure, James said with a smile, echoing words from what felt like a lifetime ago. Sarah looked at the quantum pillars, still pulsing with rainbow light, and felt the network humming with possibility. They had chosen to heal rather than destroy, to complete rather than reset. And in doing so, they had inherited not just the predecessor's technology, but their dream of transcendence done right. So, she said, turning to her friends, who's ready to see what else this network can do? Above them, the stars seemed to shine brighter, as if welcoming humanity to a new chapter in the universe's story. The inheritance was complete, and the real journey was just beginning. The end.